Welcome to Real Estate U with Lettiann.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Real Estate U with Lettiann. And I'm sitting here this afternoon with Katie Cornelius. Katie, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Katie is an associate, a licensed real estate professional in our office here. She's a rock star, I have to say.
Thank you.
I love the way you handle your business and meaning your clients, and you're so caring and compassionate and empathetic.
Thank you.
But also you keep everybody, you've got boundaries. So, and so many times in this business, I think those boundaries can be like, well, okay, and they get wider and wider and wider, and then everyone loses focus. So I always think of you when I need to reel in my boundaries. So thank you for those examples. So you've been licensed, a licensed real estate professional for about 6 or so years. Okay, and what did you do before that?
I was actually a tax analyst. So I was in the finance tax world for quite a few years before that. And went on and got my master's degree and found my way into real estate.
Wonderful. And are you glad about the decision to become a real estate professional?
Oh, yes. I love it. I mean, without getting too far into it, I got into it mostly because of a bad experience. But I would say that I love helping people, especially from coming from a bad experience with a realtor and realizing there are so many people who need to know more and to help those where I was at basically get through the process.
And that's exactly our topic today, the importance of a buyer's agent.
Yeah.
So the experience that you're talking about, this was before you were licensed, and you were purchasing a home, you and your husband?
Yes, I actually sold a home and then was purchasing.
So when you said sold, was it with the same agent, or did you?
Yes, I used the same agent for both, and she was okay, but they're just the personality with mine as far as being genuine and warm, and it just, without giving realtors a bad name, because there's so many good realtors out there who, and unfortunately the bad apples can give a bad stigmatism for all of us that are out there. And that's kind of what I wanted to come in and refocus and change. I wanted to say, no, we're not all bad, and I know what I'm doing. And I add value. I've been here, I've been in your seat, and I know what you should be told and how the situation should be going.
So that's your motivator. I know this can be done better.
Yeah.
I'm gonna prove it to myself and to others.
And helping people who are not knowledgeable and educated about the process.
It's kind of like having a baby, wouldn't you say?
I mean, yeah, it's like...
So the average person buys and sells real estate 8 to 10 years, every 6, 8 to 10 years. Well, what if we had a baby every we'd forget. Like, what do we do? How do we do? How often do these kids eat? It's the same deal. But the difference, having a baby, some of the ways might change, but it's the same concept. But real estate changes constantly.
Yeah.
And I have sellers that said, look, I haven't sold a house in 32 years. Can you help? I said, this is why you hire a professional. And thank you so much for trusting me with your biggest asset. Sure. I will help you through the process.
And it's not just sellers, it's buyers. I mean, people who are buying, it's amazing to me the amount of people who are buyers thinking, oh, well, you just show the house and, I can do the rest.
We open doors.
Yeah,
well, we can
we
do
open
that.
doors.
We have everything we need on our laptop.
Yeah.
What do we need you for?
Yeah.
And I don't know that they actually say that. I think, Katie, some of those people, they're not ready to make a commitment because they don't really know when they're ready to buy. Or some of those people had a bad experience.
Sure.
I think the number one complaint to the National Association of Realtors is my realtor made me buy my house.
Sure, yeah.
So that could be a first-time home buyer where, of course, we've had the sit down. What are your needs and wants? And then we go out and start looking. But they're so excited. They want to buy the first house they see.
Sure.
And this just happened to me. And they're like, well, let's write it up. Oh, my gosh. And they were newlyweds. And it was cute as Christmas.
Sure.
And they looked at me like, let's write it up. And I said, let's sleep on it. And they go, well, no, I think we really want this house. I said, it checks only one box out of your list of 8.
Yeah.
I said, I will let the listing agent know that we have an interest, and we'll let them know tomorrow. Would you just be so kind? So if another offer comes in, I'm going to call you tonight. But would you just please, and the next day they're like, thank you.
Yeah.
You're right. That doesn't fit our needs with anything.
And that's not even getting to inspections.
That's not even getting anywhere. It's the first house.
Yeah, that's not even getting through negotiations, inspections.
So let's take a look at maybe a part-time realtor or a realtor who has a full-time job elsewhere.
Sure.
But they're licensed. But someone a friend of Susie's cousin just called you and said, hey, I heard you have a license. Will you help me? And they say yes. And then the first-time home buyer wants to buy the first house they see. Do you think Susie might go, okay, because maybe she has another job, or maybe she is like, I really don't know because I'm not a full-time realtor. I don't eat, sleep, and drink, and I don't really know what's going on. So if these folks are saying we want this house, I'm just going to oblige.
I think part of the process also is, we had discussed this before, is that when I interview clients, they're interviewing me. It's vice versa. It's the same thing. I have to get to know them to see what they like, what they need in a house, and if our relationship is going to work together, and not just them, but me as well. So, I mean, I think that's a huge part of it too, is the good realtors take the time to get to know their clients first.
That's exactly
before
right.
They just go look at a house. So, I mean, I think that's a huge part of the good realtors out there.
I can understand to some degree the buyer mentality.
Yeah.
The city is saturated with realtors. They want to look at a house. It's kind of like going to the car dealer because they have to go in the house. Maybe it's an open house. And then that person might be like, oh, are you working with anyone? It's like they seem like everyone's out to get a bite of them. Oh, everyone. And they're like, no, we're not ready. Or they might say, well, I don't even want to tell you what they might say because it might not be true, that they're already working with someone. And the thing is, if I welcome more buyer meetings with the get to know you meeting.
Yeah.
Even if you just go grab a coffee, or why don't you come to the office? They freak out sometimes, but you know who actually comes to the office? Because I always say, let's meet. And I know you do this too.
Yes, I do.
Let's talk about your needs and wants. Let's go through the process because it likely has changed since you last purchased a house. And they say, what time do you want us to be there? You know that they're serious.
Yeah.
And if you are enlisting the services of a professional, wouldn't you want to meet with them first?
Yes, hands down. I think people appreciate that aspect. I think they go, oh, wow, they're really professional and serious about their job. They want to make sure that they're getting all the information and doing it correctly before we go out and waste time at a house that may not work for us.
So what's happening with the consumers, the buyers who just call us on a whim, we don't even, not sure how they found our number, and say, I just found this house. Can you show it to me today at 5? And it's, I don't know, 2. And you're like, oh, hello, what's your name?
Sure.
Thank you for calling. Well, how did you hear about us? Because we like to track, where our people come from. And if someone says, oh, well, you helped a friend of mine, Bob and Susie, with their sale, then I'm like, oh, okay, this is great. So now there's some credibility.
Sure.
But you need to have these conversations. What do you think the reason is that they just want to go see the house and they barely even speak to you?
Honestly, I think it could be a commitment thing. It's, maybe they're not as serious, or maybe they don't want to commit yet, sign on a piece of paper. I think a lot of them feel like that. I was telling you about that bad stigmatism that realtors have. And maybe it's like a car salesman. And just like you said, the people, I think they get that.
Not to dog the car salespeople.
No, but
I apologize for. I always say they don't want to talk to the dealer.
Yeah. And
so they just stay in the lot and start looking at cars, but they don't go inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that has something to do with it. But I think also a big majority is maybe they just aren't sure what they want. So maybe they don't want to waste somebody's time. But at the end of the day, as a realtor myself as a realtor, I don't consider that a waste of time if they're not sure what they want. It's up to me to help them find what they want.
But timing is everything.
Sure.
So even if they're doing their homework,
yeah,
I would think if I were a buyer, I would like to engage a realtor. It doesn't mean I committed to them.
Sure.
But then I'll say, wow, that Katie, she seemed like she really had, she's caring and concerning and asked a lot of really good questions, didn't she, honey? Like if I was the buyer, and not just a door opener.
Yeah.
Because if you're just opening doors, that's only the first step.
Sure. And some people are probably, getting excited and like, I don't want to have to go and meet you and
Well, I don't want to
sit
waste
down
anyone's time.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's actually, I would say, waste more time to not meet ahead of time, because that's our job. We figure out what they need in a house, probably sometimes I would say 90% more so than what they think they need.
Totally. I agree.
We figure it all out. We take down the information and then we say, this fits your lifestyle. Why don't you come have a look? Whereas, they'll just say, oh, I think I like this house, but they don't always know what they like about it, or sometimes it's
probably
just
the
aesthetics.
sofa in the great room.
Yeah, yeah. And you're going, okay, well, that doesn't work for your family dynamics. You needed 3 bedrooms and you're looking at a 2-bedroom. You needed 4 bathrooms or 2 separate, so it's just kind of one of those things where I think they don't always know what they want right away either. And that's up to us to figure that out.
I would never want to go down a path of an arena I didn't know about without having somebody who knows it better than me show me the way.
And a lot of buyers also don't know that we have a legal fiduciary responsibility to represent them. So we have to disclose everything that we know, and we are representing them. So it's not just a paycheck.
We are working on their behalf.
Yes, we're working on their behalf, and legally we're in a binding contract. So I don't want to do anything illegal by trying to just get you to buy something.
Right. It's just the wrong. But do you feel there are licensed persons out there who do that? There has to be. Because
there is. I mean, there is. That's why people have bad experiences.
They would rather have a root canal than talk to a realtor.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very sad.
That's why it's all about, if you can find the good ones and sit down and meet with them, then you'll understand, okay, this is a good person who's going to represent me and has my best interest in mind. This person, not so much.
I'm even good one should never assume, but I always assume the seller, let's say, but we're talking about buyers here, are interviewing at least 3 candidates.
Yes.
That's smart on their behalf.
Yes.
It's like when you go car shopping, aren't you going to look at more than one car typically?
Yes, I always advise my clients, but I also, even with lenders, and there's a lot of things that we do throughout the process that we coach them through that they also just don't understand.
In our sphere of people that are going to help them get to the end result, get to the closing table for the best price in the shortest amount of time, and help repair their credit or whatever hiccups they have along the way. We're driving that bus.
Yeah, and I think I've said this before, but I love working with first-time home buyers just because I remember being that and being so terrified, so I can put myself in their shoes. And I love knowing at the end of the sale, this is what gets me up all the time, is knowing that I have helped someone and given them, because buying a house is your largest purchase and it's terrifying. And if I can put someone at ease and comfort them and let them know what they can do, so this is an easier process, it just makes me feel better knowing that I helped someone, so they don't get that feeling of buyer's remorse or, oh my gosh, they pushed me into doing this. I ask so many questions at the end. Do you feel okay? Are we comfortable? I mean, constantly I'm like, what are we thinking? Are we feeling good about this? Do you have any questions? I mean, constantly. Because I want to be on the same page.
I would want that if I were purchasing a house.
Yeah.
Because like your second set of eyes and your expertise and what you know, I'm like, why would Katie be asking us that?
Yes. And a lot of times when I'm at a house, I'm looking up, I'm looking down, and they're like,
always
what?
Look up.
They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm looking for foundation issues. I'm looking for, and they're like, oh, isn't that what inspectors are for? But yeah, I don't want you to get to the inspection process and waste $300 to $500 on an inspector only to find out that you have structural issues.
Right. And sometimes you need to get there in order
Sometimes
to
you do
that.
have to get there, but if I could see something ahead of time and say this might be an issue and just let you know ahead of time that
Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
Is that
are you okay with that?
there's-
Because I don't want to get to inspections and then you saying, oh, well, I wish we would have known ahead of time because then we wouldn't have wasted money on this inspection.
Yeah.
So that happens a lot more often than you can think. But then also we have the connections. So we have the inspectors. We know the people who can come out and fix things, chimneys, structural issues, roofers. I mean, you name it. We have connections. And a lot of people, I feel like buyers, if you don't have an agent, that's stress. You're sitting there stressing, going, oh my gosh, what do I do? Can I fix this? And
maybe in their mind, they're thinking, I hope we save some money.
Yeah.
But if you're looking to save money, you're likely it's going to bite you in the butt.
Yep.
Especially if you're not hiring a professional.
Yep.
We have about 5 minutes left.
Sure.
So our topic today is, what is the importance and why do I need a buyer's agent? Because I feel like the world and the laptop and the on-demand and the Zillow and everything, people are like, well, I don't really need them, but we know they do. And it's not like, oh, because we need, we do, because that's why we chose this business.
Sure.
And it's not an easy one, folks. It's a roller coaster ride of Crazy Town. But you know who's taken on the Crazy Town?
Us.
So you don't have to.
Yep.
Okay.
I tell so many people, so many of my clients that are like, I don't know if I can answer this phone call or go to this or meet the inspector or and I'm like, I got it. That's what I'm here for. This is what I do. And most of the time I schedule all these things. I go and I meet and I say, hey, this was the da-da-da. And they're like, oh, that was really nice. I didn't have to do anything.
And the seller pays commission.
And the seller pays commission. Buyer's agents are free to you. And we still have a legal fiduciary responsibility to you. So it's not, like we're going to do anything illegal.
Don't you think education is key and a better experience?
Sure.
I want the consumers to demand a better experience.
Yes.
But I think the 11,000 plus of us here in the metro area need to up our game.
Yeah, definitely. I think there are, and this is what I was saying about the bad stigma that some realtors have out there, and that's why people go, I don't need a real estate agent, because unfortunately there have been so many bad apples for us. So it's up to us to make an imprint and show what our value is. And that's how I get clients, because they sit there and go, we had the best experience and she was genuine. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to work. I choose to work. I do it because I'm passionate about it. And so I think people really gravitate to that because they realize, oh, you really are genuine about this. This is something that you enjoy doing, and you want to make sure that I'm happy at the end of this. Because again, that's how we generate business, off of referrals, other clients who say, oh, I had this great experience, so they refer you to somebody else, and you're going, okay, great.
Yeah, we're not one and done.
Yeah.
So again, I'm just so desperate to take this business back, and finding the house that's the fun part. I mean, fun it's fun for them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's enjoyable process. But then when they find the house that they really want,
sure,
that's when the real, okay, let's dial this in begins. And here's the timeline. And I try to tell those buyer clients ahead of time, here's what the process looks like.
Yeah.
Once we get a contract, then once it's accepted, then here's the X amount of days for inspection, because it's like having a baby. They don't remember.
You have to remember these dates. You have to remember times. You have to be on time so that you can close on time.
You have to be
you could hold
so
up
on
somebody
time.
who holds up somebody who holds up somebody if you're closing on another house. I mean, people just, I think, like you said, they're just uneducated and don't understand the process. So they think, oh, it's just like signing a document.
And I tell the associates here, if you want to know what your job description is, read your listing agreement and read your buyer's agency agreement.
Yep.
That's our job description. So Andy's telling me we have less than 2 minutes, maybe about a minute at this time. So if you have the camera here and you have the floor, what's your best advice and education for buyers out there? Because there are copious amounts of buyers and they need direction.
Sure. For buyers, I would say interview more than one realtor so you know what you're getting. Mm-hmm. But also, buyer's agents are free to you. Don't get nervous about, oh, I'm going to have to pay them this and pay that. Sellers pay real estate commissions because it is such a process, and because they're generating there's a buyer's agent generating the buyer for them so they can sell their house, especially in a buyer's market when you have options. But best thing is education. Educate yourself with a realtor and what they're going to do for you.
Ask them questions.
Ask them questions.
Interview
what are
them.
they going to do for you? What's the process look like with them? Because it may look different than with somebody else.
Absolutely. So great advice. We certainly welcome the opportunity to be your resource for all things real estate. And it's not just when you buy or sell every 6, 8, or 10 years. If you need a vendor or a contractor, or you want to have a conversation about a home, or you're planning, or you need some credit repair and you need a local lender, reach out to us.
Yeah.
Of course,
We have information. You want to know about the market? Where's it going? What's it doing?
Yeah, you don't have to call just when you're about ready to sell or you think you're going to be buying soon. We welcome staying in touch with you for a lifetime. So, Katie Cornelius, thank you so much
Thanks
for coming
for having
today.
me.
My pleasure. I look forward to seeing you again soon, as well as
good.
you. And thank you for tuning in to Real Estate You with Lettiann.
Thanks.